Welcome to America's #1 Cincinnati-based museum podcast, Meanwhile at the Museum, the show that takes you behind the scenes of Cincinnati Museum Center and beyond. Over there on the ones and twos is our producer and co-host, Mitch Seifert.
Hey.
I'm your host, Cody Hefner. Today we are joined by a friend of the museum, a friend of the marketing department here. We are talking with Michael Anderson, who is, you have to correct me if I get this wrong, Director of Public Relations and Photography for the Cincinnati Reds.
That is correct. Good afternoon, guys.
What an icon.
I appreciate it.
Iconic brand. I think Cincinnati Museum Center is slightly older, technically, than the Reds, but the Reds are 156?
Yeah. So 1869.
Okay. We're not a math-heavy podcast, but
right.
So far, so good.
Right. Well, we had the 150th anniversary celebration back in 2019. So that's sort of kind of ingrained in everyone's head now that, we celebrate the 150. So we just, add a couple years.
You get to
that.
reset the baseline on that.
Right. And that was really special for the city, special for the club, knowing that, the first professional all-paid baseball team was here in Cincinnati. And we just blew out that entire year, if you remember.
Yeah.
Everything we did in the ballpark, around the community, the mustache benches. I believe you guys had one here as well. Yeah, right.
You just squeaked it in too.
Sure.
Like because 2020, that was a wild season, right? With COVID and all the changes with that, right?
Yes. Yeah. 2020 was a real challenge. If you remember, they paused the season, in middle of March, thinking, we're just going to pause it for a week or two, right? Next thing you know, it's Memorial Day weekend. There's no baseball. Then there's 4th of July. And a couple of the other sports teams had come back. The NBA was playing in a kind of sequestered arena.
The bubble? Was that the bubble season for them?
Yes. They were down in Orlando, I believe. And then Major League Baseball sort of looked at what their options were, and they restarted the season about the third week in July.
Was it that late?
It was. So we ended up playing 30 games at home and 30 games on the road, if I remember correctly.
So let's talk happier times, but also just pull it back. What do you do? What is your job, Michael? And how do you explain that to a child like myself?
Sure. I've been really fortunate to be in this role. This is my 16th season. Started in 2008 as like the manager of public relations. And I really was brought in to help really amplify what the Reds do in the community.
Okay.
To try to tell those great stories. Specifically the Reds Community Fund and the Reds Hall of Fame. When the Castellinis purchased the Reds in 2006, they noticed that there was a lot of things happening in the ballpark that people weren't knowing about, right? You had the beat writers who were talking about baseball, but there wasn't anyone to help amplify what was happening off the field, whether it's in the community, with our ticketing, with our ballpark, food, concessions, fun stuff, activations, sponsors, partners, bobbleheads, whatever. They noticed that there was a real disconnect between the media that was talking about baseball and the other opportunities that weren't being addressed.
The fan experience, the community experience as
exactly.
well.
Exactly.
The game itself, and this is not to cheapen it at all, but that's such a small part of what people are going to the ballpark to experience.
Of course.
I mean, everything you mentioned, you kind of don't realize and don't think about because it does get boiled down to the box score and the standings and what's happening, the stats. But for people who are going, for families who are going, and someone who's going to their first game and things like that, they're not going to remember the stats specifically or how the team did that season. They might remember the details of that game, but it's everything else.
No, I would have to generally say that if you ask a fan the following day after a game, they may not remember who the starting pitcher was. Right? Yeah. They're not going to probably wake up and look at the box score the next morning like maybe our parents did. But what they're going to do is they're going to share that photo of their kids with one of the mascots.
Right.
They're going to look through their camera roll and see the photos of the fireworks from Friday Night Fireworks. Or they're going to share a photo of, that they tried a Sky Rosa at the ballpark, right?
That's a great point because now
Yeah.
teams in ballparks, it's like the ballpark is an entity in and of itself.
Right.
They're getting as much attention and traction for food and things like that. I mean, mid-season, just randomly, hey, have you tried the cotton candy burrito at this and at such ballpark?
Of course.
And that's something. Again, that's something else that sells tickets. It's not just the team on the field. And that's just the world we live in today.
Well, I think it also speaks to the just the history of the Reds as an organization here in Cincinnati. We've been around since 1869. They bring the community together, and they have for 156 years now.
Yes, I mean there's no doubt that this team is woven into the fabric of the city, unlike really anything else. But we're so fortunate here in Cincinnati because we really have these anchor institutions, whether it's from a corporate side like P&G and Kroger, to an event side like yourself. Tomorrow, the Cincinnati Zoo is celebrating their 150th anniversary, So, like, Cincinnati has got these great organizations that really, when you think of Cincinnati, all these things come to light. I mean, my first visit to Cincinnati, when I was 10 years old, we went to the zoo, we went to a Reds game. I grew up in Columbus, but we came down when I was 10 years old. And I still remember that day like it was yesterday, and it was such a cool experience for my family.
Growing up in Columbus, were you more a Cleveland fan or a Cincinnati fan, or do you just rally around the Clippers?
We did. I did.
What kind of baseball fan were you as a kid?
So,
I mean, were you a baseball fan?
I did. I grew up playing baseball as a young kid. And,
what position?
Probably outfield. I was not a great baseball player.
I spent a lot of time in the outfield.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, I think early on, like elementary school, I think you would have found me maybe in the outfield. I could hit a little bit, but I wasn't a great fielder.
So you were a better hitter than fielder?
I was.
How about you, Mitch?
I had some good seasons and some bad seasons at bat, but I had a few seasons where I hit pretty good.
Yeah, the Reds did not hire me for my baseball skills.
Is that part of the interview process at all?
Not.
No? Okay.
It is not.
In here
they didn't take me down to the cage and say, "Give me a bucket of balls," and like you're gonna hit off the tee and you're gonna throw in the cage.
Do you get to do that? Do you get to? How many times have you gotten to go down and take batting practice?
So we, after every season, the Red staff, we get to play a softball game on the field.
That's awesome.
And it's one of the best perks. I've been on some pretty good teams that we get to play, so it's a really cool experience.
Is there a department that always turns out good staff softball players?
Our ticketing department.
Really?
Yes, they absolutely. There are a lot of guys that still play in softball leagues.
There's just ringers.
Yeah, there are some. We have some really talented guys that do that. But getting back to your question about sort of, you had asked about food, right? Yep. And how great the food is. And one of my favorite days at the ballpark, besides is usually about a week before opening day, is we have a new food at the ballpark preview, where we invite all of our friends in the media, local influencers, content creators, friends from other organizations, other venues. You've been there.
Yeah.
And we do this humongous opening day food preview about a week before opening day. And for the last 6 years now, Chef Gary Davis, who's the executive chef of the ballpark, and his staff roll out this fantastic event where everyone comes in and tries all the new food. And it's just one of those days that, that opening day is coming, but we get to open the ballpark up and show everybody all the great food and beverage offerings for the season.
Are there foods that you'll roll out a season and that just didn't work out, that just silently dies? How do you pull something off the menu to make way for the new stuff?
I think Chef Gary tries to get creative every year. Everything's still rooted in ballpark food. So have a new twist on a hamburger, new twist on a hot dog, something in a helmet. Everything in a helmet's great, right?
Right. We got the only time I've ever gotten the helmet nachos was, I think, my youngest daughter's first game. And I was like, this is going to be meaningful for her. I don't know that she ate any. I did. They're great.
A couple years ago, they came out with a meat cone, which was, it looked
I
like,
vaguely remember this.
yeah, it looked like a waffle cone that had, I think, Montgomery and pulled pork and things in it.
That's
And
amazing.
right. I don't know how well it translates into like sitting in the stands, trying to like fork through like a soggy meat cone, but I think it looked cool when we debuted it.
But I mean, some of these things, it's not. You're not going to eat it every day. You're going to eat it once, and it's part of the. Like I gotta go try the meat cone.
We're also, I think, a little bit cautious about coming up with things that are really over the top, right? Like the Texas Rangers have their boomstick, which is like a 2-foot long hot dog or something like that, and
yeah.
They always get a bunch of accolades for having all this cool food, but in reality, how many people are going to buy like a 2-foot long hot dog that's covered in everything?
Like, how much are you throwing away? What's the way?
Right.
I think that everyone's pretty smart about it, but still, like, how time intensive is that? You don't want to sell 20 of those an inning.
And we figure out what people want. Like, I think our best offering, and I think our most popular offering, are the 50 West burgers.
Yeah.
They sell us like 1,000. Some big nights, they'll sell 1,000 burgers a game.
Really?
Incredible. So when you look at our partners, La Rosa's, Skyline, Graders, Montgomery Inn, 50 West, all these local partners, I think that's one of the great things that the Castellinis have done with the ballpark since they bought the team. One, they added 30 bars because you need places for people to get beverages, right? And how they've really leaned into local offerings. So have these great partnerships. Chick-fil-A came in a couple years ago as well. That was huge. The local Chick-fil-A retailers are helping, and they're great partners of ours in the community as well.
When you think of ballpark food, it's technically not a food, but you have beer.
Right.
I think hot dogs, nachos,
sure,
peanuts. I mean, is that
kind
of
course.
But within that, what is your? A lot of people do Mount Rushmores. We like to do Snap, Crackle, and Pops. Actually, I'm the only one who does. No one cares. Like your top 3 ballpark foods. What's the holy trinity? But then what are what do you consider this is the holy trinity of ballpark foods? But then I also want to know Michael Anderson's 3 favorites.
I'll go bratwurst.
Okay.
Absolutely. I love a great bratwurst, whether it's a local bratwurst. I have family from Wisconsin. I grew up, going to brat fries in Wisconsin in the summertime, and my grandparents always would be frying up bratwurst, right? And in Wisconsin, they cook the bratwurst and they cut it in half and they open it up and they put it on like a hamburger bun, like a hard roll. So it's like a local delicacy in Wisconsin. But I'll still go when my wife and I go. We go on date nights on Friday nights, so we go to the games a lot on Friday nights together. And she'll get a hot dog. I'll maybe get a bratwurst. I also like tacos. I think tacos are easy. Tacos are easy to eat. The ballpark's got some great tacos. This last couple years, we've had a partnership with Gleer's Geta. So there are these fantastic Reuben Geta sliders that I've been eating the last couple of years as well. Those are fantastic, and I make them at home as well. I love it when my family travels or they're on spring break or something. And the last couple of years, my wife and daughter have been on spring break, and my other daughter's at college, so I'm home the week of opening day. I'm running solo, which actually works out pretty well.
Yeah, because you're probably living at the ballpark. For
I am.
days, right?
So the last couple of years, I have lived exclusively on Gleer's Geta sliders at home every night, on a pretzel bun with some spicy mayo and pickles. And that is, I literally 5 or 6 days in a row, that's my dinner every night.
That doesn't sound bad.
It's the best.
I'm sure every day is not the same for you, but why don't you walk us through what opening day is like from your perspective? When does opening day technically start for you?
When you think of the calendar of the season, right? This coming year, we'll start January with Reds Fest. So this year, uniquely this year, for 2026, the convention center has been closed for the last couple of years under renovations.
Right.
So the Reds are proudly being the first tenant in the new convention center.
Oh, awesome.
In January.
Awesome.
So they'll be cutting the ribbon on the convention center, and we will be the first big show inside the new convention center.
That's huge.
In January, middle of January. Then you blink, and 3 weeks later, we go to spring training.
How much time do you spend at spring training?
Typically,
Any or none?
Typically about maybe like 5 or 6 days. We usually get out there the day before pitchers and catchers report. And for me, as not only the director of public relations, but I oversee all the photography at the Reds, making sure that our photographers are in a position to succeed and get what they need. The first week of spring training, we are shooting a ton. So not just headshots that you see in the media guide, but all the behind-the-scenes photos, studio shots with all of our different uniforms. So every different uniform, basically. And the last couple of years with the City Connect uniforms, the black uniforms that we wear this year, we've worn them for 3 years on Friday nights. We do a special photo shoot there, and there's a whole behind-the-scenes that our video production crew has. There's a whole set in Goodyear that they create, and all the guys come through. So all the photos that we share during the year are the majority of those photos are taken at the first week of spring training.
Wow. Oh my God.
It's a lot. It's great though. Everyone's in a good mood. The games haven't started yet. They're getting loose.
They're just being kids.
So that's the perfect time. And then I sneak out. Like once things get serious and they need to focus on being baseball players and getting ready for the season, then I will take off, because then I'm 5 weeks from opening day.
Right.
And it's absolute crunch time.
Do you have much of an off season at all? I mean, it's a 162 game year.
Yeah.
That goes from late March to late September.
Yeah.
And you get 2-3 months not to really be crammed, or like, when is your downtime? Is it actually during the season, or is it during the off season?
My downtime, I think most of our downtimes are in December.
Okay.
Yeah, typically from the second week in December until after New Year's.
Then you hit Reds Fest, and then everything's ramping up to opening day.
Yeah, exactly. That's how this year will go. As we're recording this podcast right now, we got about a week, about 10 games left in the season. We're 3 games out from the wild card, and there's still a chance, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance, right?
Everyone's favorite sports.
Yeah,
sports
it is. This has really been a great year. Having Terry Francona come in and completely just give these guys. I mean, you're talking about a guy that has won 2 World Series, a guy that managed in Ohio. He managed in Ohio for 11 seasons up in Cleveland. Like, he's a Midwest guy, born and raised in Pittsburgh. Like, he gets it. He loves Cincinnati. The players love him. We love him. So we are fully behind Terry. And you can't turn a ship in one year.
Right.
So, I think definitely made some strides this year. And I still think there's hope for this year. And if not, I'm so excited to see what these guys come back for next year as well.
And you guys are right in it. I mean, the Reds are right in it, and the Mets are just tripping over their stacks of cash and and just saying, "Here, take it, come right in." But that's over 162 games. It's people will get really worked up if there's a bad game or something. 162, that's a lot, and anything can kind of happen. That's. It just takes a few plays that can really turn a game or open it up.
Right.
And you just got to put that behind you.
So we're so fortunate that we have fantastic fans in this town, right?
And not just this town, regionally. It is
absolutely.
A fully regional team. I mean, there's no team in Indiana and Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia. And so there's that bleed over the entire region in a surprising way.
Yes, when we win, the team feels different. If we sweep, a few years ago, we swept the Cubs on a June series, and it was a 4-game series. Waking up that Monday morning after sweeping the Cubs, the city feels different.
It does.
And just a week ago when we took 2 or 3 from the Padres, and it was like, okay, this team, we are rocking and rolling. And when the Reds have a good win, like everybody wakes up in a good mood. There's also some issues, and we joke at the office a little bit, is that we're all emotionally invested in this team.
Right.
And my
Right.
family and my wife and my kids probably, and everybody I work with, all their families and stuff, they see the roller coaster that the Reds do, and that also our emotions ride that same roller coaster. Like if the Reds have a tough loss one night, I'm not in a good mood maybe later that night or in the morning, just because like we want these guys to win so bad.
And then moments where you're making this push to the playoffs,
Yeah.
that jacks the energy up
Sure.
as well. And so
Right.
every single game matters. It's not April, it's not May. Hey, they're figuring out, they're tinkering. We're waiting on guys to get healthier, hit those things like that. I mean, it is dialed in. Every game matters. You feel it all.
Yes, and I love the fact that this town still sort of lives and dies on every game, because the alternative is for fans to check out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I have friends that work for other teams, and I've talked to other PR directors from other teams, and we get together every year at the MLB winter meetings in December. And this last year, one of the PR directors for the Colorado Rockies, who's really struggled the last couple of years, like he talked to all of us about how the local media has just stopped covering the team.
Yeah, that's tough.
And he was having to engage with local content creators and other forms of media to try to get the word out, because their ownership group was still expecting that the PR team work hard to get coverage, and whether it's game coverage or community coverage or whatever. So he was having to come up with alternative ways to try to get the word out. I work with the PR director for the White Sox. Same thing. They've had a struggle the last couple of years. But the PR director up there is fantastic. And she's like, we just have to get creative on how we get people to tell our story.
Sometimes the stories with baseball does revolve around contracts. It does, record-breaking deal and this and that and who's spending money. And people want to kind of make a big deal of how much these rosters cost. It's still players on the field. And a contract doesn't walk up to the plate. I mean, it's a player, it's an individual. That's what's really exciting about baseball, is sometimes you see these teams that just aren't paying players billions of dollars for a season and a half. I mean, they're paying guys to play the game, but they're just, the payroll's not where the Mets are, the Dodgers are, something like that. And they're taking it to them, and they're sweeping them. They're knocking these guys out, and that's, as a fan, that can be another form of satisfaction to say you can't buy wins. You still have to go scrap them out on the field.
Yeah, of course. I think fans realize that when we play the Mets, they're a $300 million payroll, and we're about a third of that, right? When we go up against the Dodgers, they have a massive payroll. They also have someone like the Dodgers or the Yankees, they have a TV contract that pays them well over $200 million a year.
Wow.
So that's
like
a big, almost their entire payroll, or a big portion of their payroll is paid every year by the TV contract. And that's similar with the NFL, right? All 32 NFL teams split this multi-billion dollar contract that pays out each NFL team like $220 million a year. So whether you're the Browns or the Bengals or even the Cowboys, they all get a big chunk every year. MLB doesn't have that yet.
Right.
We don't have this global TV deal where every station who wants to carry the NFL can. So, and in MLB, yes, technically the Reds are the smallest TV market.
Are they really?
Yes.
Wow. That's surprising.
Yeah. Yes, we're a DMA 34.
Wow.
So when you're looking at TV ratings and adjusting that to the smaller market, that us and our partner at FanDuel Sports Network, right? We can only charge a small amount or smaller amount for advertising and airtime and things like that,
right,
just because of the eyeballs. But at the same time, we punch much higher in our weight class than other teams, because we have great TV ratings and we have fantastic radio ratings. So we kind of outperform everyone, and that's why we're back with, this is our first year with FanDuel Sports Network. First year that we're offering streaming for fans as well, which is huge. So many people now can watch the Reds wherever they want.
Right.
And that was brand new for this year, and that's been a real game changer for keeping fans engaged.
The other thing about baseball that's NFL, NHL, NBA all have more teams because they're 30.
30 MLB teams, right?
NFL's 32,
32.
I think NHL's 31, 32, 33, something like that.
Somewhere right
NBA,
around there, yeah.
Which is shocking because baseball is such a cornerstone.
Right.
And I think that goes two ways, though. One, you're sort of surprised. Like, baseball teams are popping up all over the place, but also it's kind of protecting that integrity of it. And, we don't need 40 baseball teams. Let's just, we've got these 30 tight teams. And with those, almost every team is this iconic brand in itself. I think when you move to a new city and working in PR, right, a lot of media personalities that come and go as they move on in their careers, it's kind of like getting that photo wearing a Cincinnati Reds hat. Mm-hmm. That tells people, I'm a Cincinnati, now you can trust me with your news, and I'm here, I'm part of this city. And then as people grow up in Cincinnati and move around the country, you'll see someone in Seattle with a Reds hat, and someone in Austin with a Reds hat, and in the middle of Nebraska, Kansas. That C is this iconic brand.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams have fans all over, right? They're the big, whether you're the Yankees or the Dodgers, they're global brands, right?
Right.
Right. But yes, because the Reds have been around for so long and we have a really large fan territory that, kind of goes in the north up towards kind of Lima would be sort of the top. Bowling Green, Lima would be the top part of our section, of our area. Going south, probably down through just the edge of Nashville, that area. Southeast, go into North Carolina a little bit. Southwest, go out through southwestern Indiana. Not quite to Illinois, but just right around there. Right. And then like this last year on the Reds Caravan, we went up to Fort Wayne. We had never been to Fort Wayne before. And we had 250 fans come out on a Friday night in January.
Really?
And it was great to know that we have a ton of fans up there as well.
I grew up in Lima and Walpokenetta.
Sure.
And my first professional baseball game was Reds versus Pirates in Cincinnati. And a lot of people look at the map and you see Lima, and it's it's in the northern kind of half of the state.
Right.
But Cincinnati always felt like the draw rather than Cleveland. Right. So I grew up, and Cincinnati was that was the focus. That was where my fandom drew me towards.
Right, and that's probably because of WIMA in Lima, which is one of our oldest radio affiliates.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. You've got them all locked in?
A little bit. Yeah, we work. So, and that's part of the magic of the Reds is that we have one of the largest, probably top 2 or 3 largest radio networks. So we have well over 110 radio stations that broadcast the Reds, and it has been for many years. They dwindled a little bit in the early 2000s, but we've worked really hard to build that radio network back up. Because if you remember, going back 20, 25 years, Reds on TV, you were lucky to get a handful of home games and a couple dozen road games.
Right.
Yeah.
162 is a lot of airtime to devote, right? For a station, and that's changed. But radio,
every single game for the history of the Reds has always been on radio. People don't realize that, again, not just like a half a generation ago, only a handful of games were on TV every year. So you don't realize that of 162 games, maybe 40 might have been on TV. So people would then obviously have to come down to the ballpark or listen on the radio. So, and baseball is one of those really unique sports. It is truly the most generational sport. You go to a ballpark, you will always see 3 generations, grandparents, parents, kids, walking into the ballpark together. My love of baseball was handed down from my father, who was a Reds fan growing up in Columbus. He was a Reds fan. Johnny Bench was his favorite player. So I remember my first year getting to work with Johnny Bench that first time was crazy. Probably when I joined the Reds, my dad might have been more excited that I got the job than I was. So that love of radio, and there's nothing better than just, growing up listening to Marty and Joe, or now Tommy and the Cowboy, and, still getting to work with Marty. He's still around. But just that legacy of radio is really what makes baseball special.
162 games. How well do you know the schedule? How do you keep track?
Well, one of my jobs, you asked me, you keep asking me what, I'll keep sprinkling in what I actually do throughout these conversations. One of the other things I do is before every homestand, I have a document called Homestand Highlights, which kind of details everything happening at the ballpark, inside the ballpark, in the community, at the Hall of Fame, with the community fund or whatever. So I have to kind of know everything that's going on at the ballpark at any one time. And I work with all the other departments to find out what stories need to be told, and then work with our communications team and kind of come up with a strategy for each homestand on what good stories I need to tell. But at the beginning of the season, next year's schedule has already been released. We're opening the season with the Boston Red Sox, which is huge.
Yeah.
Do I have next year's schedule memorized? No, I don't. Not yet. But it's kind of what we do, right? Yeah. We kind of have to know the cadence. And it's, when you break it down, it's essentially we play at home. There's 13 homestands, and then they go on the road for 13. So it's essentially 26 weeks from the end of March to the end of September. It's essentially on and off for 26 weeks.
Who's your favorite team to come into town?
Who's my favorite team?
Or maybe least favorite. I mean, who do you like to see come into town?
So I have, again, I said my whole mom's side of the family is from Wisconsin. So we grew up going to Brewers games in the summer. So I'm always texting back and forth with my cousin in Wisconsin about when the Brewers come to town. And, obviously there's rivalry with the Cubs. Anytime the Cubs come in, there's a lot of blue. Right, they travel really, really well. When the Dodgers come in, there's a ton of blue. When the Braves come in, they do the tomahawk chop. And I remember, one of the most iconic games at the ballpark from the last handful of years was in June of 23, which was Ellie's cycle game, where he hit for the cycle. He had a single, a double, a home run, and he needed a triple. And he got a triple toward the end of the game. And that was this back and forth game. They were in the midst of a 13-game winning streak at the time. They had captivated the city with all these new players, with Andrew Abbott and Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain and everyone. And it was just a fantastic time to be a Reds fan. And that night, early in the game, the Braves fans were trying to do the tomahawk chop with the sort of rally cry, and that's annoying. Right. It's just, but then, when the Cubs come in, you'll hear, you'll be walking around the ballpark and you hear this roar, and you're like, oh, what did the Reds do? I go, no, those are just Cubs fans cheering.
Yeah,
because there's so many Cubs fans.
But that's what's neat about baseball, though, is it pulls that fandom out. It is you can live in Cincinnati, but then your hometown team, your childhood team, comes to town, and suddenly you pull that gear out of somewhere. So it is. In the fact that there are 162 games, it does give you these opportunities to pull that fandom out. And I think that's something interesting in my mind, that the Reds aren't just creating that experience for Reds fans, it's creating it for other fans as well to come in. It is a welcome environment. You never hear anyone say that they have a bad experience or that Reds fans aren't kind of hospitable fans. Sure. You can have that rivalry, and you're gonna hate the Cubs, you're gonna beat the Cubs and the Cardinals and things like that. But you're not afraid to be a St. Louis fan and walk into Great American Ballpark.
No. And if you go to the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum, which is the best baseball Hall of Fame outside of Cooperstown, really one of the largest team museums in all of professional sports. When you walk in on game day, if we're playing the Cubs coming up, there'll be Cubs fans walking through the museum, and that's a destination too. So the ballpark is built to explore. We've really redesigned the ballpark. That if you want to watch a couple games in the seats, and then if you want to get up and walk around, it's perfect to go explore. Go all the way up to the top, We have swings that overlook the river, cruise around, go, check out other seating areas or check out other concession stands, go out to the fan zone, take your kids on the playground or the wiffle ball field. Like my kids growing up at the ballpark, my daughter Molly was born my first year in '08. My other daughter Ella was 3. So we would go to the games all the time, and we would sit in the seats I would usually say we got to sit in the seats for 3 innings, and then we can go explore the ballpark for 3 innings.
Yeah.
And by that time, it was a 7th inning stretch so that at time was like, are we staying or are we going? Right?
Right.
If it was a school night or something, we might leave. If it was something else, we might stick around for fireworks. But, if you're a family with little kids, like 6 innings might be enough and you still have a great experience. And we're totally fine with that. And we love the fact that people drive in from other cities and fans come in wearing, me and a couple guys at the office I will text them photos of someone wearing a completely random jersey that isn't Reds or whoever we're playing. And I love that.
There's a Diamondbacks jersey when you're playing the Brewers.
I love it. I'll do, once the game starts, typically my job will end about when the game starts. It's like once the first pitches, pregame ceremonies and everything start wrapping up, my job's pretty much end. But I might do a lap around the ballpark, just kind of see what's going on. And I always look for some random fan wearing some random jersey.
My favorite random Reds fact. You're talking random jersey, so that somehow got me to random facts. Macho Man Randy Savage was a farm team player for the Reds.
He was back, and I don't know the entire story behind that.
That was before he was Macho Man,
yes,
right?
I believe so. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It is. I don't.
Right.
It cracks me up. It makes me laugh. All right, let me hit you with a few rapid fire questions.
Sure.
You've talked a little bit about the Reds Hall of Fame Museum, but if you had to create a museum exhibit here on anything, what would you create an exhibit on?
Well, my love for this organization, for the museum center, and for this. I mean, my family and we spent probably 10 of our most cherished memories with my family. My kids grew up here. We had 2 birthday parties here. My daughter, Ella, she was probably 7 or 8 years old, had an Egyptian-themed
awesome
birthday party here where the cake and everything, you guys had and she was obsessed about Egypt. We had this for her birthday one year, or for Christmas, we got her a Playmobil Egypt set that had all this stuff in it.
Yeah.
She was so into Egypt. So we had an Egyptian-themed birthday party here. And she was so excited that once they did the party, once they did the cake and everything, they got to go out and explore the museum. She was so excited to show all of her classmates one of the baby sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Which is sort of morbid, right?
Right.
Hey,
right.
kids, look, this is a baby mummy.
Ancient coffin.
Ancient coffin. And she was so excited. And the other parents were like, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, but that's just, right? That's just what we loved. And so we spent so much time here. I remember the first time we ever came here, my daughter was just walking, so she was just a little over a year old. I remember going down to the Children's Museum and her kind of holding on and making her way around and going into some of the different kids exhibits and things like that. And I remember, like most families go there, you pay for, you pay for 2 adults and you pay for parking and everything. And I remember walking out going, we should just get a membership. If we're going to come back, let's just get the membership.
Yeah.
So, we immediately got the membership, and there were so many Saturday mornings that we would get up in the morning, we would throw the kids in the car, and we would be the first ones here at 9:59, and we would go directly to the Children's Museum and just let them run all morning. We'd pack lunches, we'd sit in the rotunda and have lunch, and then best case scenario is we would leave around noon and they would fall asleep in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
And
you did it right.
I'll tell you, Cody, we did that so many Saturdays for many, many, many years. We have so many. And then even as the kids got older, they were in camps here. There were different camps. The Harry Potter camp one year was epic.
That continues to be a big one.
But huge. And then my daughter Ella and Ursuline Academy, we had 3 father-daughter dances here,
Did you really?
which were just
No
awesome.
kidding.
So I have literally like 18 years of memories for my family here at the Museum Center.
That's
And then
incredible.
there's some connections between the Reds and the Museum Center
Of
as
course.
well, the Union Terminal.
Yeah.
In 2015, when the All-Star Game was here in Cincinnati, we had a big event
You're
here at Union Terminal.
you're correct. Yes, we had the big sort of all-star gala was here at the Museum Center in the rotunda and out throughout the parking lot as well.
Yeah, it was huge. The one thing I hate about that event here, they projected every team and their logo on to Union Terminal.
Right.
And the best photo we have of it is the Minnesota Twins logo.
I had worked the previous All-Star games in 2013 in New York City, as we knew. So we found out in late 2012, early 2013, that MLB was awarding the 2015 All-Star game to Cincinnati. So I went and worked on the MLB PR team, and a bunch of us were in New York in 2013. And their big All-Star gala was on the USS Intrepid retired aircraft carrier, right?
Yeah.
In the Hudson River, where the Roots were playing. And we're looking around like, we have to replicate this?
Yeah.
Like 4,000 people?
we have to go next.
Right. And I'm like, we have riverboats, but we don't have aircraft carriers in Cincinnati. So then the following year in 2014, we were all up in Minnesota when the Twins hosted, and their big gala was at this humongous, like, converted warehouse on the edge of town, on the edge of Minneapolis. It was like multiple stories, and it was really, really cool. I don't know, it was some old shipping warehouse or something along the Mississippi River. And so we really don't have a big space in Cincinnati that would be centrally located. So the Union Terminal was obviously the obvious choice, but it was kind of like it was in the parking lot, and it was kind of went down the hill, and it was kind of inside Union Terminal a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of great memories from that night as well. One of my favorite memories from that night was the secret post party, a couple blocks from here in one of the old Enquirer printing facilities.
Really?
Down the hill behind here in the West End. Snoop Dogg and Macklemore played a secret concert that night.
That's cool.
Because they were part of the celebrity softball game at the All-Star game, which would have been Sunday All-Star week. And so we all left here and went down to this secret warehouse where a handful of people were invited, and MLB people and Reds and staff. And it was like midnight when like Macklemore played this great concert at midnight, and then Snoop didn't go on until like 1:30 or 2 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Great memories. And every once in a while, I'll work with people from MLB, and we just had an MLB crew come in a couple homestands ago to do a shoot, and one of the guys reminded me and goes, "Did you work for the Reds in 2015?" I said, yeah. He goes, "Do you remember that Snoop Dogg and Macklemore concert that night? That was epic." He's like, that was one of the last big concerts, like secret concerts that MLB did for one reason or another. Like they actually blew it out that year.
I'm just getting old school vibes.
Well, and we had
the Mitchapalooza.
Sure. Well, and then we were fortunate enough to have Snoop Dogg back here this year for a post-game concert.
The post-game concerts are incredible.
The best.
Like you cannot see these performers for that price in that kind of setting anywhere else. That's insane.
Yeah, this year we had our two favorites were Snoop Dogg and then Train, which
Really?
I'm not a huge Train fan. I will tell you, they put on the best thematic sort of stage show. They were great. It sounded great. It looked great. Like they really knew what they were doing. Some bands get up and play music for a little bit. We've had Avid Brothers come a few times, and they just bring it. They know exactly what to do. But Snoop Dogg was fantastic this year. Train was really, really good.
Have you ever had Creed, or are you thinking about bringing Creed? Mitch went to one Creed concert.
And
Now
Cody
he's
brings it up every chance he gets.
Creed is enjoying kind of a renaissance
They're
right
really-
now.
Yeah.
It's because every high school boy who grew up when
Yeah.
Creed came up now has
Sure.
disposable income.
So just last month, Creed played at Heritage Bank Arena.
Yes. I was going to text you,
yes.
and that was my
Right.
one moment of restraint.
Right.
Mitch.
I was down the street at the Brady Music Center for the camp concert with my daughter. And as we were leaving, you had this sort of alt rock, indie rock crowd leaving the Brady. And then you had the Creed fans coming out of Heritage Bank Arena, and they look completely different, right?
Right.
Completely different.
Going back to some of the connections between the Reds and Union Terminal,
Sure.
we are actually situated on the site of one of the first ballparks that the Reds played at.
I think it was the field of the first professional team. Do you know this? Someone go run out and check the plaque.
Yes,
we got a plaque
exactly.
out front.
Well, you're right, because Crosley Field,
Is just down the street.
just
too.
down the
Yeah.
street, right? So this West End area was really where the first baseball parks. There were a couple parks here along this area, but you're right. Like this was sort of this is the birthplace of professional baseball where we're at right now, which is pretty cool.
In 2015, when the All-Star game was here, we also had baseball in the Queen City, or Diamonds of the Queen City. It was a baseball exhibition pulled from some of the materials in our collections, and there were incredible things. I mean, like original rosters, and there were some original contracts, and seeing those things in those numbers. We had Waite Hoyt, who was a very prominent broadcaster
Yes, of course.
for the Reds.
Yeah.
We had some of his broadcasts playing, and I think that the way he called games, he got like ticker tape, like of what was going, and he would just for some of the road games would read it out. It was incredible, and also give us an opportunity to showcase some Negro League materials. I think we may have borrowed some of Chuck Harmon's gear,
Sure, of course.
from you all
Yeah.
for
Right.
that. But that was 2015 was an awesome opportunity to kind of remind everyone that
Sure.
Cincinnati is the home and the birthplace of professional baseball for people.
Yeah, between 2015 and 2019, definitely. And you have Miranda from your staff was on our staff right around that same time as well. So we have some connections. But earlier you asked what would be, like, if I were to create an exhibit here, like what would be my ideal exhibit? And that's a great question. I mean, I love the interactive exhibits, right? The ice cave and things like that. It's hard to replicate some of that stuff. The Children's Museum has always been fantastic here. Maybe we do look at something. Maybe there is another history of baseball or something like that. Maybe there's an interactive, and even some of the traveling exhibits that you guys have come in, some of the bigger ones. But I think that's the great thing about the museum center is that you have these anchors that never leave, that people have these exhibits that they never want to change. And I don't know if you guys run into that where you're like, do we change some of this? Or like, would we get some feedback if we move some things around?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. And to me, some of those things are, you talked about the cave, the public landing and the history museum, some of the, the woods and the children's museum. Like those are the peanuts, the hot dogs, the nachos of the museum center.
Yeah.
You can,
Right.
you're going to do some new stuff here and there, but you kind of can't have a museum center experience without some of those. I mean, the OmniMax is a huge thing as well. So those are some of those like anchors when they think of a museum center visit. Those are some of the things that pop up. I have to ask you, and you had to have thought about this. You have to have an answer to this. What would your walk-up song be?
Oh man, that's a
Do
great
they do
question.
this for the staff?
They
softball
do
team?
not. They
Man,
do not.
What are you guys?
I know.
You're missing out.
So 2023, when the team was absolutely just on fire, right?
I got stuck in the parking. I was working at the Freedom Center.
Yeah.
And I got stuck in the parking lot. My shift ended right as the game was kind of
Sure.
ending, and I was
Right.
there for two
Right.
hours.
Back in 2023, if you would have asked me what my walk-up song would have been, I may have picked a Taylor Swift song.
Really? Which one?
Oh, maybe Ready for It or something. I don't know. One of the more upbeat ones. The only reason why I mentioned that was that during that run in 2023, if you remember that Taylor Swift played at Paycor
Yes.
Stadium?
Yeah, yep.
That first week in July, and it happened to be the same night as a home Reds game, and I ended up customizing a Reds jersey, with Taylor Swift and number 13 on the back.
That's so smart.
And my daughter and some of her friends, we ended up going to the concert that night. My daughter took a photo of me sitting in the stands watching the Reds on my phone as Taylor's playing.
Right.
And then towards the end of the Reds game, the Reds end up winning, and then there's post-game fireworks. So during the spot in the Taylor Swift concert where she was going into kind of her folklore and Evermore, sort of trying to break it down and talk a little bit about coming out of COVID and writing some music for folklore and Evermore. And meanwhile, quarter mile away at Great American Ballpark is fireworks are going off.
It's just a bonus. They didn't even have to pay for the pyros for that.
Right. And everyone's sort of like, Reds win. And we're kind of, so there's this juxtaposition between Reds and Taylor Swift and everything. And that was a really cool core memory for my daughter and I there.
All right. It's locked in. Taylor Swift's your walk-up song. I love that. I think that's so good. Oh, man. Michael, this is awesome. I could talk to you all day. I have 100 more questions, but you have a team to run. So.
No, I appreciate you guys. As you know, yeah, again, this place has got special memory for myself and my family, and I love the fact that you've been here, Cody. I mean, this is 15 years, 14 years, something
14,
like that.
yeah.
I love it. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years. I look around. You've had Randy Rico on the podcast recently. This is her 17th year at the station. Her and I kind of started together. Our buddy Frank Marzullo is coming back,
he's
right?
Back.
He's back, 17 years.
I call him Francisco, and he never bats an eye. Because when you're talking with Frank, he's already on to the next thing he's going to say. And I always call him Francisco on air when I'm talking to him.
Sure.
And it never phases him.
Yeah, so I think Frank could be your next podcast guest. Get him in here.
We'll get him on.
He texted me whining about it once, and I said, "Well, let's go." And he goes, "Nah, I'm just kidding." I was like, "What? Let's go."
No. He is, again, one of the best people in this town, just so genuine. When you think of Cincinnati, and I'm so happy to have him back on the air here with our friends at Channel 9.
Yeah, he's a huge win.
Yeah, huge
100%.
win. Yes. Love it. I appreciate you guys, as always. We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. From one icon, Cincinnati Museum Center, to another, Cincinnati Reds. It's just a blast. I mean, this city just has an embarrassment of riches in these institutions. You mentioned the Cincinnati Zoo. I mean,
right.
156 years.
And for someone who didn't grow up in Cincinnati.
Same with me.
Right. And I'll tell you a quick story is that broadcaster Marty Brenneman just a couple weeks ago dedicated his new bronze statue outside the ballpark. And Marty's last season was 2019. As we're sort of wrapping up the season, one of my jobs, I got to take Marty around for a bunch of media interviews. So we were going around the city in 2019 getting ready for his last broadcast after 46 years. And he kept, right? 46 years behind the mic. And one thing he kept saying as he was doing these interviews is like, he moved here in 1974 and was not from Cincinnati, grew up in the North Carolina, Virginia area, and had opportunities to go other places, had opportunities to take jobs in bigger markets, but kept returning to Cincinnati, obviously declining those job offers and wanting to stay here because the fans accepted him even though he was an outsider. And he talked about how hard it was to have Cincinnati, a city that's rooted in multiple generations, right? 3-4 generations of family. I grew up in Columbus. I'll be honest with you, rarely when I grew up in Columbus were any of my friends' grandparents in the greater Columbus area. Most of my friends were transplants coming in from Chicago or coming in from other areas. I mean, Columbus exploded in the 60s and 70s when our parents moved there with Ohio State and the State House and all the other things going on in Columbus. But in Cincinnati, you definitely have 2, 3, 4 generations of families that have been here. So as an outsider to come in, and Marty Brenneman talked about how provincial Cincinnati is. because you have all these neighborhoods and you have all these areas and you have the 52 neighborhoods of Cincinnati plus everything else, and you have families that haven't moved very far from their parents or grandparents, and you have kids and grandparents, who all went to the same high school. It is a really insular community. So Marty talked about how the city really embraced him even though he was an outsider. And I think you and I probably feel the same way. Been doing this long enough and raising my family here, and my wife and I don't have any family here, so we raised a family on our own. And I remember when we were growing, as my kids were growing up, our friends would ask us to go out on the weekends, and they're like, "Well, we're just sending the kids to the grandparents." I'm like, "We can't do that."
Right.
Right?
Right.
We're doing this on our own. We both went to UC and got jobs after we graduated and kind of figured this out on our own.
That's right.
So I'm deeply indebted to Cincinnati for accepting, to being a part of the Reds. And obviously it's a privilege to work with the Reds every day, and just appreciative of this city. I love this city. It's got such a unique character to it. Again, growing up, and my daughter's in Columbus right now and she's thriving. She loves Ohio State. But there's something so special about this town with the river or the different neighborhoods. And it's just a great place to grow up, great place for my kids to grow up as well.
It's also something, it's special. The Reds feel like they always fit the city. I mean, it feels in sync. It does. It never feels like the team should be, plays in a style that doesn't fit the city, or that it has, players on it that don't fit. It just fits.
Sure.
And there's just something about that I think is so unique and understated, but it just, and you talk about when there's a sweep, the whole city lifts up. And I think that is, for Cincinnati's a sports town, it's a food town, it's a beer town, it's an arts town. It's all of these things, and when you see one sector kind of rise up, it raises everything else too. So we thank you for that, and we thank the Reds for being one of those anchors in Cincinnati, and for giving us a little behind the scenes look.
No, I appreciate it. I think the players are proud to wear the jersey every day they go on the field, and obviously it's a privilege to work there. We're stewards of this 150-year-old franchise,
right?
And I think when the players get here and they see the fans and they see the city and they learn a little bit about the history, I think they're just really proud to be able to represent Cincinnati and wear that C on their jersey.
That's so true. Michael, thank you. I really
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Meanwhile at the Museum. Remember, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. And feel free to send us any questions or comments at meanwhile@cincymuseum.org. But most importantly, come check out Cincinnati Museum Center for yourself. Visit cincymuseum.org for the latest reasons to visit. And also, catch the Reds in person. The game experience there just can't be beat. So thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time.